It was a winter afternoon. I was six months pregnant, and my husband, Rat, was in the den contemplating life. He had just come in from the woods, duck hunting, one of his good old boy passions. He once told me, if they made duck hunting in liquid form, I swear I'd shoot it straight into my veins. I'm sure my reply went something like, that's wonderful, dear, to feel such passion about shooting ducks. He would quit back, woman, I'm putting meat on the table. I would say, get a grip. Those duck breasts are probably costing us about $200 a pound. Let's see, the gun, the duck blind lease, the boat, the decoys, your handmade custom duck call, and that Patagonia underwear. And let's not forget the whiskey. Yeah, I know it. You have to stay warm. At which point he would start ignoring me. But I digress. Out of nowhere, Rat said, Ezekiel Jeremiah Jones. I said, what are you talking about? I replied. He took a breath, never stirring from his current position. He said, that's it. When we have our son, back in the old days, you didn't know if it was a boy or a girl till that precious gift graced you with its presence. We are going to name him Ezekiel Jeremiah Jones. I asked Rat what in the world was he thinking. Have you lost your ever-loving mind? Can you imagine the burden that child would carry with him? With a name like that, Lord have mercy. His replies were always simply stated. With a last name like Jones, the boy's gotta have proof he ain't no gelding, Slick. Slick was his term of endearment for me. Well, where does it say that a name has to be proof of that? I tried to argue the point. The conversation, rather one-sided at this point, began to dwindle off. I was trying to argue with a good old boy named Rat. Besides, I was having a girl. I just knew it. Her name was already picked out. Period. End of this silly conversation. The last 3 months of my rather uncomfortable pregnancy progressed, and ne'er a word about a boy's name crossed our lips, or my thoughts. I went into labor the beginning of spring. Wonderful shades of green filled the woods. Dogwoods just trying to bloom, and I was about to bring a precious little girl into this glorious place. After 36 long hours of labor, they asked Rat and me to consider a C-section. Yeah, cut her! Get Rat me out of there! Cut her now! Obviously Rat's words, not mine. Now, I have been terribly patient through this whole ordeal. This little girl was my first. I would do whatever it took. I was completely drug-free, and I had not peeped one cuss word. Not one. A feat in and of itself. But I was worn smack dab out. And apparently, so was Rat. It was time for my precious baby girl to come out and see her mama. I continued to have strong contractions as they prepped me for surgery. A big old gal came in and explained how they would administer the spinal, as they called it, a huge shot in your lower spine. She sweetly reassured me that I would be away as my baby arrived. She explained as soon as the baby is born, we will administer Valium through your IV to help you relax. Long time no druggy booze. I was looking forward to it. Then, the evil heifer from Hades. The anesthetist with the needle longer than my butcher knife. She had that look on her face, like the wicked witch of the West when she told Dorothy, I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog Toto, too. Sweet big nurse stood in front of me to hold my hand and whisper sweet words of comfort. Evil heifer from Hades. as she poked around on my back, said in a rather firm voice, "Take a breath, hold it, relax, and be perfectly still." I took a deep breath, slumped over, and buried my head in those marvelous soft breast pillows as Big Sweet Nurse whispered a lot of "it'll be okays." Then a contraction straightened me to complete attention. An evil heifer from Hades slapped me on the back and yelled at the top of her lungs, "I said relax." And then it began. "Relax? You want me to relax? You just slapped me. I've been in labor for 36 hours, heifer, and you can kiss my big, fat, pregnant behind." Reports said that I called her every name in the book. They were not pretty names. Every cuss word I had ever known. And let me add right here in this little story that I have a very loud mouth. I could call kids from 3 miles down the road and they could never say they didn't hear me. Not a very ladylike quality, but what can I say? We do with what gifts we are given, and God gave me a big mouth. Once I got started and the tone went up to peak capacity, my words echoed, not only in the operating room, but resonated down the hallways. Rat heard bits and pieces in the waiting room. "Well, they done messed with the wrong pregnant lady now, so let's eat their lunch." Seems it took them a few minutes to calm me down, but out of my belly came an incredible healthy baby. As soon as they cut the cord, they released the Valium into my bloodstream. Then a nurse smiled and said, "You have a beautiful baby boy." Valium La La Land had already taken me into its marvelous clutches. They asked me if I had a name. I giggled and said, "It's supposed to be a girl." Then I asked, "He's not a gelding, is he?" They giggled as they asked again about a name. They placed my new angel in my arms. At the top of my ample lungs, looking at my precious baby boy for the first time, I said, "Ezekiel Jeremiah Jones." The entire operating room broke into hysterical laughter. That's all I remember as I surrendered to La La Land. Over the next 10 days I spent in the hospital, several of the staff would just show up to meet me. They'd wink and say things like, "Heard you gave that old gal a piece of your mind. Good for you." Or, "I just wanted to meet the lady everyone's talking about. You go, girl." And every day the nurses would bring in my little angel boy and say, "Here's Zeke." No, that's not his name. I was high on Valium. It was a joke, please. That is not his name. Rad just snickered a lot. When I tried to discuss names, we could not agree from one day to the next. And the nurses continued to call him Zeke. Day 10, I was finally given my walking papers. Time to take Angel Boy home. They insisted I give him a name to finalize the birth certificate. My hesitation was obvious. I don't even know how to spell Ezekiel or Jeremiah. Brad had that good old boy ever so slight grin. "Here, Slick," he replied as he handed me a Bible. "My boy ain't no gelding."